Hello and welcome to the first episode of Sunderland Mind's podcast. My name's Jenae and I'm a wellbeing support worker.
And I'm Neve, also a wellbeing support worker, and we are part of the WASP team at Sunderland Mind.
Today we're going to talk a little bit about body image and the overall pressures of being a young woman in society today. So, Neve, what was your earliest experience with body image to start us off?
So, I don't feel like I ever, as a child, ever thought about my body or anything like that. And I think that's down to the fact that my mum never mentioned it, never brought it up in conversation. I never found her like looking at herself in the mirror or weighing herself or anything like that. And so it never really became a thing for me. Like, I was just like a child, you know.
Yeah.
It was never anything that I considered ever really. And then it was actually really, really late for me. So in about sixth form, so I was about 17, 18, when I had like a closer group of friends. And I just remember one day getting ready and like looking in the mirror and thinking, oh, I actually don't look like all of my friends. Like all of my friends were tiny and really, really like the ideal, in quotes, like body. And that was my first time really thinking, oh, maybe I don't look like everybody else. So my first experience was very, very late in life, I would suppose. What about you?
I feel like mine was so young, like compared to that, because I feel like there was probably things before, but one thing that like sticks in my mind was being in year 6, I think it was year 6, and we all got weighed and they were doing your BMI and everything, and we got sent this letter home, and my letter said I don't know if it was overweight or obese. I think it might have been overweight. I think obese is dramatic. But I think it said overweight. And obviously I was an 11-year-old girl. And if you look at photos of when I was 11, I don't look overweight. Like, there's not a thing wrong with us. But I remember seeing it on paper and just like breaking down and just being so distraught at the fact that somebody thought I was overweight. Mm-hmm. And I think from then I just hated everything.
I got that same letter, and mm-hmm. I think mine said overweight as well, or obese. Because the BMI is just totally outdated, and it's just a total, just ridiculous way of measuring mm-hmm. health. It's just so inaccurate. And I got that letter as well, and I remember literally not being bothered. I just didn't care, and I thought, and like my mum, I think, got that letter and just ripped it up and put it in the bin, and she didn't care, so I didn't care. Yeah. And I think if she made a big thing about it and was like, oh, why are you overweight? Because there was definitely people in the class who were just mm-hmm. normal weight, so it wasn't as if it was everyone. I was one of like maybe like half the class, but she wasn't bothered, so I wasn't bothered, and it was just never a thing really in my house ever. You know, I know there's a lot of like a lot of culture around like Slimming World for mm-hmm. like British mums, like that's a massive thing, and like a massive demographic who follow that like year round basically. And my mum never ever showed that she was bothered, so I don't think it ever then bothered any of us. We always had, literally every night we always had tea, and then we would have a dessert mm-hmm. every night. Like, it was just never, like, calories weren't a thing, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was just never even in my world.
I think ever since I got that letter, though, it was just, like, stuck in my head. Mm-hmm. And, like, my mum wasn't bothered. She was like, there's nothing wrong with you, don't be silly, da-da. But it was just, to me, somebody's told me there's a problem with the way I look. So then I think that was just always stuck, and I remember being, like, I went on a diet in, like, year 10 or something. I remember being, I think, about 8 stone or something, and still thinking I was fat. Mm-hmm. And, like, I look at photos now, and I'm like, how did you think that? Mm-hmm. Like, let me be like that now. But, no, it's crazy, because I think, obviously, when I compare myself to there, though, compared to now, like, obviously, I'm not a lot heavier, I'm not that thin and stuff like that, but I'm so much happier, because I feel like I finally, like, accepted it.
Definitely. So,
which is crazy.
Why do you think it bothered you so much to get that letter?
I don't know. I think it was just this. It was the first time it had ever been mentioned. So, like, I think on paper as well.
Yeah. And it's very official.
Yeah. I look at my BMI now and I think it's obese. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't bother us anymore, which is crazy. But I think it's all to do with, like, your mindset. And obviously I was an 11-year-old child. Mm-hmm. Like, I was vulnerable.
Yeah. Definitely.
So why do you think yours was when you went... Like, why do you think it took so long for it to bother you? Like, why were you fine and then all of a sudden you weren't? What do you think it was?
I think I did put on a little bit of weight when I was in sixth form. And I had like my first like heartbreak type of thing. And I did put on weight. But I just remember it was just like this very, very specific photo. And my friends were like, what are you wearing tonight? And I sent them the photo. And I remember it was like this red top and like these red shoes and like a pair of jeans or whatever. And then my friend replied back being like, ooh, lovely. And I just felt like it was so sarcastic, the way she replied. And that got us thinking, like, why she said that in that way. Like, it felt like she was like mocking us. And I don't think I had a very good set of friends at the time. And I had just gone through like my first breakup with like my first boyfriend. Yeah. So I don't know, I think it's the people that you're surrounded with. They were all tiny. And I think they probably did take like the mick out of us behind me back about it, which they never said to my face. So then when my friend was like, what you wearing? And I sent her it, and then she was like, oh, lovely. And I just thought, oh. And I literally remember turning aside and looking in the mirror and being like, oh, maybe I don't actually look like everybody else. Maybe I am the odd one out.
I always felt like that. I always felt like I was just bigger than everyone else and just always looked different.
And I've never been skinny, and I never will be skinny, but that's fine. But I don't know why that happened then. I think it was the people I surrounded myself with, and they weren't very accepting. And I think at that age as well, when you're 17, there's like a box that people try and get you to fit, and like nobody really fits that box.
Speaking of fitting, what do you think of sizing?
I think it's ridiculous.
Absolutely.
You can have 3 different size jeans and they all fit you fine. Like, I've got a pair of jeans that are a 10, a 12 and a 14 and they all fit.
Yeah.
I've got a top that's a 14 and a top that's an 8. Like, literally it just is ridiculous. But again, it's never really bothered me because it was never a thing. Like, I don't know. I think it's all honestly down to my mum, my upbringing. My house, it was never mentioned. We had such a healthy relationship with food, and like food was just food. It just sustained you. Like, you had like a healthy diet, you had your tea on a night and like snacks and whatever. It was never even a thing in my world. So sizing and stuff like that affects me more now as an older, like I'm 22 now, so compared to when I was 16 or whatever, now I sometimes think, oh, should I be like getting this bigger size or whatever? But I just think if your body changes and your clothes don't fit, buy a bigger size.
Definitely. One size does definitely not fit all.
No.
It's just crazy. Because I have things in my wardrobe that are like a 6 to a 16. And it's like, if sizing was really true to size, how on earth would that work? And I think, obviously my mum has always been brilliant and always told us I'm absolutely lovely, no matter what I look like. But I think it was just everything. Like, everybody seemed to be bothered about it. Everybody seemed to be bothered what size you were, what you looked like. And I felt like everybody could wear these tiny little tight dresses and I just never ever did. And it was just such a thing. I was like, I want to be able to do that. Kept losing weight and just could never ever feel like I could. But really, it's like, it's your shape, isn't it? And the way you can go into one shop and be one size and go into another shop and be another size, like, that is just, it's just proof of how people can have like really bad relationships with sizing and all. Like, because if you were really hung up on it and you walked into a shop and you were a different size compared to last week, you would think, I've put weight on, I need to do something about it. And that's how people do get like in a bit of a rut with all that and make it a big thing. And
I think it's hard, like, to hear, like, if people were listening to this, it's and especially if you're in a bad place with your body image, because now I feel like I'm in a much better place, but I have been in horrific places with my body image. Like, I've lost 3 stone. I've been pretty much every size that you can be. So it's really hard, and I used to hate listening to people say, oh, sizes don't matter, because to me I'd be like, well, it does matter because my size is much bigger than yours. But I don't know, I just think from being on both ends of it, of being 3 stone heavier and then 3 stone lighter now, you just realise how much it doesn't matter. But like, people don't, that doesn't comfort you.
You've got to kind of go on a bit of a journey with it, don't you? I feel like now I've realised sizing doesn't matter because my waist is not the same size jeans as my thighs. Because it just doesn't work.
No.
Like, to get it comfortable everywhere else, you've got to size up a little bit. And for so long, I was like, I need to be a smaller size, and that's how I felt good about myself, by getting in a smaller size. And now I feel good about myself by trying something on and it looks nice and I feel nice.
Yes. And I think as well, figuring out what you feel like flatters your body.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
I wouldn't wear certain things because I know that they make us feel horrible.
Yeah, it's the way you feel, isn't it? You sit and you pull it yourself all day, and there's just...
Yeah, like I changed my top this morning because I had a lovely top on that I really love, but I literally changed my top last minute because I thought I'm going to be sitting here all day worrying about what's hanging over the side or whatever, so I put a looser fitting top on and I've not thought about it all day. So I think sometimes you just have to have a play around and understand like what you feel good in.
Yes,
because
that's
there's certain things that I would never wear because I just know that they would make me feel awful. Even if they look all right, they would make me feel just like not confident at all.
Definitely, you've got to dress for yourself, don't you? Helped you overcome it? Be in like a better place with it. I wouldn't say overcome, because I feel like, is anybody ever really 100% happy?
I think when we were younger, like say 10 years ago, magazines and telly and music videos and everything like that was so much like, you would only ever see size 6. You would only ever see the ideal body. And I think now that we are moving so much away from that, and I think that's as well to do with like social media. You don't see that body. You do see it, but you see different bodies all the time. And I think sometimes if you can literally see a body on Instagram or a music video or anything that looks like yours, you're less likely to think that you're different or that you're the odd one out or anything like that. So I think that's definitely helped. But also I started going to the gym about 2 years ago, and I've gone on and off, and I've just gone back literally yesterday. And I don't look physically that much different. Yeah. I look pretty much the same. But the confidence that it gives you, and like being able to physically do things like lifting weights, or when you physically feel your strength getting better and you can run for longer or do this, or like we get little challenges at the gym and like you've got to complete them in like a certain amount of time. I never used to be able to do that. And like I have lost a little bit of weight since then, but I don't really look that different. But my physical ability and my confidence that I get from the gym, no matter how I look, I feel like somehow just gives us this inside like boost that I don't really care about what I look like, because I know what my body can do. What about you?
I totally agree with all of them things. I definitely feel like social media can be really toxic if you let it. So like for ages, I thought like you had to look like these supermodels who were airbrushed and had these filters, and that was all that was on my Instagram. I would scroll and be like, I don't look like that or that. Yeah. I'm awful. But then I started to follow people that were more like me. So I think for anybody who is struggling with it, whether like you think you're too big, you think you're too small, whatever, just try and find people who are like you and like kind of fill your feed with them, because then it does give you a bit of a sense of normality. Yeah. Because we are all built differently. Some people are naturally tiny, some people are naturally a little bit bigger, and whatever you are, it doesn't matter as long as you find that confidence and you're happy. So definitely changing my social media really helped. 100% going to the gym. When we came out of lockdown, I started doing like personal training sessions, and it was something I never ever thought I would want to do. And I did my first session. I went home and I was like, I'm never going back. It's awful. But it does give you so much confidence. Like, when I first started, I remember being there in my leggings and a hoodie. I wouldn't take my hoodie off, so I was absolutely sweating doing these training. I wouldn't look in the mirror. I couldn't, like, obviously gyms have mirrors everywhere. I could not look at myself in the mirror. I felt sick. I didn't own a mirror. I didn't have a full-length mirror in my house. I only had, like a square thing to do my makeup. And then, like, going to the gym and building my confidence up and just feeling more comfortable in my body, like, showing that my body can move in certain ways that I didn't think it could. Yeah. That did make us feel a lot more comfortable in it. And, like, knowing that just because maybe I'm a little bit bigger or smaller than other people doesn't mean that I can't do things the same way they can. Because they know I'm not as strong, doesn't mean that, like, I'm not still great. Yeah. And learning to do all of that stuff really helped. And it sounds silly, but then I bought a mirror. And having a full, it's massive, my mirror now, having a full length massive mirror in my room, I started to take photos of myself, and everybody was saying like, hey, look, there's you with photos, because I never ever took photos. I hated them. And now I love photos. I love to capture the memory. And like, it was so sad to look back on like the past 4 years and having no photos.
I was exactly the same. I literally would never get in a photo ever.
No.
Family, like Christmas, and then I would look back and think, I'm not in any of these pictures. For what? Like, there's no point in not having those pictures just because I think that I might look a bit big from the side. Like, it's ridiculous. So now, and like you say, like, it might not look entirely different, but you just feel totally different.
And just, I think taking the photos really helped me, like, to just take a photo. And before, I couldn't take a photo of myself before I went out, because I wouldn't go out. And everybody knew that about me. If I got a photo, I would not go out, because I'd look at it and I would go, ugh, definitely not, and just not leave the house. But now I take a photo and I'm like, yeah, that's all right, let's go.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's such a difference. And I think just like getting more comfortable in my own body, having the mirror, looking at myself more. Because I think as well, I thought I was even bigger than I am. And I thought I had this picture in my head of what I looked like. And it sounds daft, but like now taking photos, I'm like, I don't look like that. I look all right. And it's just nice to be able to finally feel like that. And don't get us wrong, there's still stuff I'd like to change and I want to still go to the gym and stuff like that. But I'm not in a hurry anymore.
Yes.
Like, if it happens, it happens.
That's how I feel.
I enjoy my food. I have my nights out, my takeaways. I go to the gym. And I think it's all about finding a balance, what works for you.
Definitely. And I think as well, like, when you're younger, when you're in school, it's mad because, like, school feels like the be-all and end-all. And, like, all the people there, like, that's all you're bothered about at that age is, like, how you look, how you fit in, whether you like stand out from like the norm type of thing. And then you grow up and you leave school and then you think, God, nobody actually cares. Like, nobody mentions it. Like, it's not a thing. People are more bothered about like your personality or what you can bring to the table, or how you perform your job, or like what you like as a human being. Like, nobody really cares.
No.
But I think when you're younger, it's like put on you this massive thing of like, this is what defines how you are as a person, is how you look, which is just not true, I don't think.
No. So I think everyone just needs to take the photo, wear the outfit, and just feel more comfortable in themselves.
Thanks so much for listening to our first episode.
Come back next month for a new episode, new people and new topics. Bye!